Hey there and welcome to BingeBot, where we recap all the latest and greatest TV shows to help keep you in the loop. Today we're digging into The Devil's Hour Season 2, an eerie thriller about crime across multiple timelines. As always, if you guys want to support our channel, you can do so via YouTube memberships, Patreon, or Buy Me a Coffee, and unlock some cool perks along the way. Alright, let's get started with Episode 1, D.I. Chambers. On a dark, rainy night, Lucy's mother, Sylvia, stands outside her house in a field. She returns to her home and glances at a letter that she has written for Lucy before taking her own life at exactly 3:33 a.m. Years later, 17-year-old Lucy is still struggling with the death of her mother. As a result of Lucy's poorly planned robbery, she meets Detective Sergeant Nick Holness. Lucy's sharp attention to detail impresses Nick and has him suggesting that she would make a fine detective. Many more years pass, and Lucy is now a detective inspector, investigating a peculiar robbery at the home of Mike, Lucy's husband from her social worker timeline. In this new timeline, Mike has a different family, and instead of Isaac, he has a son named Josh. On a subsequent evening, the department holds a going-away party for Nick, and Lucy finds herself jealous of the attention that D.I. Ravi Dillon, her police partner, is giving to another woman in the bar. Shortly after, two girls go missing, and Lucy becomes determined to track them down. With few leads to investigate, Lucy finds footage of an old red Nissan van in the vicinity of the girls' disappearance, and unknowingly discovers a crucial piece of evidence. Before having the chance to further investigate, though, Lucy and Ravi are called out to another crime scene, in which Lucy is attacked and narrowly escapes with her life. Later, in the black of night, the pedophile Harold Slade is dumping bodies from a boat into the water. But before getting away with his crime, Gideon Shepard, a murderer throughout multiple timelines, appears on the dock wielding a knife. The next day, Lucy feels like they are wasting their time as Ravi drives them to Debbie and Lee Warren's house for the mysterious appearance of a young boy in their home. Isaac, Mike and Lucy's son from her social worker timeline, is found in the room of Debbie and Lee's daughter, Meredith. And to everyone's confusion, he is claiming it is his house and that Lucy is his mother. Apparently, Isaac has the ability to see through and appear throughout different timelines, even timelines where he technically should not exist, like this one. While driving Isaac to Child Services, Lucy receives a call to urgently respond to the discovery of the missing girls' bodies. And needing to bring Isaac along, Ravi watches the boy in the car, but to his confusion, Isaac disappears. While Lucy is investigating the bodies of the missing girls, Harold Slade turns himself in at the police station, and Lucy returns to the station, and Nick briefs her on Harold's strange confession. It appears that he had accidentally killed the girls while trying to satisfy his urges, but it was Gideon who made him confess. While Ravi is investigating another murder scene, witnesses describe a man who fits the description of Gideon, and using the description and multiple sightings of the red Nissan van, Lucy plans a raid on the location of the van. During the raid, Ravi is tasked with a nearby roadblock, and a shadowy figure appears along the road. The figure is Gideon, and with the ability to know Ravi's exact moves before they happen, he beats and incapacitates him. Simultaneously, Lucy finds indications of a second getaway vehicle and is able to arrest Gideon before he can escape. Back at the station, Lucy interrogates Gideon, and he reveals that he has had this conversation countless times before. Gideon explains to Lucy that the crimes that he commits are only to prevent further loss of life and urges her to join him in preventing more horrific acts. 17 dead, 11 children, he continues to repeat, an ominous prediction of what is to come.
The real devil's out there. Next year, 17 dead, 11 children.
Shortly after, Lucy is called to a fire at the Warrens' house and follows Isaac, only to have him disappear once again. Now, feeling mentally unstable, she visits Ravi in the hospital and reveals her feelings for him with a kiss. Time then speeds up through the life and relationship of Lucy and Ravi, dating, getting married, and Lucy becoming afflicted with cancer. At this stage, she visits Gideon during the last moments of her life, and she finally decides to join him in his endeavor, living through the different timelines and preventing some of humanity's most gruesome crimes. After the visit, Lucy collapses, and Ravi later sits with her on her deathbed, but when she dies, she wakes up in her other timeline as a social worker, narrowly escaping death in the house fire. But this time, she remembers the other timeline as well, and still carries her emotions for Ravi, asking the nurse where her husband is. Episode 2, Red Lines. Kelly and Ben Watson are excitedly reading a positive pregnancy test together. Time speeds through the couple's preparations for the upcoming baby in their lives. They visit a toy store and are both tragically killed in a bombing. D.I. Lucy Chambers, in the timeline where she is married to Ravi, is investigating footage of the bombing that only reveals the yellow hooded sweatshirt the perpetrator is wearing. She goes on to realize the death of the unborn baby makes the total number of dead reach 17, 11 of them children, revealing that Gideon's prediction has come to pass.
He told me there'd be 17 dead. Last I checked, there were 16.
Kelly Watson, she was 9 months pregnant.
Back in the timeline where Lucy is a social worker and the mother of Isaac, they drive into the woods to their new home, which was constructed following the loss of their previous home in the fire. Isaac is still recovering from the terrifying events of the house fire and claiming that he can see ghosts all around him. Meanwhile, under the cover of darkness, Gideon is digging in the dirt beside a skate park, where he retrieves a small metal box, but he's assaulted by a group of teenagers while walking back through the skate park. They try to take his money, but Gideon, wielding a knife, fends them off. The next day, Ravi receives a call from Detective Sergeant Sam Boyd, a detective who is familiar with the Gideon Shepherd case and has been tasked with the recent sighting at the skate park. After moving to a new town and trying to escape the guilt he feels over the death of Nick, Ravi is surprised to receive this call. Sam asks him to return and assist her with the Gideon case, and he reluctantly agrees. Concurrently, Lucy goes to visit Gideon, who is hiding out in her mother's old house. She expresses her concern over knowing that the yellow-hooded figure is out there, planning and preparing for his next crime. As if Lucy could sense it, a sinister man is in a yellow hoodie, shoving glass into pieces of bread at a local park. After leaving the park, he also leaves behind a pond full of dead ducks. That night, after waking up at 3:33 a.m., Lucy has a memory from the timeline where she is married to Ravi, and they struggle to conceive. Later that day, she is called to the care home of her mother because Sylvia's mental health is seriously declining, so Lucy decides to move her mother into her old house with Gideon. Gideon is furious and says that the arrangement is dangerous for everyone, but Lucy insists. Sometime later, Ravi arrives at the police station and is met by Sam Boyd. They set off to investigate Isaac's school, which is located close to the recent sightings of Gideon. Before they arrive, Isaac is in class struggling to pay attention to the teacher while being able to see across multiple timelines simultaneously.
You about your handwriting, okay? Put that down!
What's wrong? Are you feeling okay?
Ravi then tracks down Lucy at a remote house in the woods in an attempt to gain new information about Gideon. Lucy is now able to remember the timeline in which she is married to Ravi, her emotions toward him being palpable. Oblivious to her emotions, Ravi accepts her invitation to stay for dinner. While putting Isaac to sleep, he tells Lucy that she should kiss Ravi because he seems to make her happy. While this is happening, Ravi is downstairs and accidentally knocks over a small book that Lucy has been using to make notes on her work with Gideon. He notices the name Evelyn Wiseman, but Lucy catches him reading her book and becomes upset. However, in the heat of the moment, she kisses Ravi and they romantically fall onto the couch. And while kissing, Lucy has a deja vu of first meeting Ravi in the hospital from her alternate timeline. The following morning, Ravi arrives at the police station, clearly disheveled after the night spent with Lucy. Sam Boyd seems unimpressed, but Ravi orders her to investigate the name Evelyn Wiseman. Time then speeds up through multiple romantic events between Lucy and Ravi, eventually leading to Lucy becoming pregnant. Episode 3. Something Beginning with D. In D.I. Lucy Chambers' timeline, Lucy is investigating a burning blue Subaru that was stolen by the bomber and used as a getaway vehicle. In this timeline, the finding was fruitless, but in Lucy's social worker timeline, Gideon uses the information to find and set up a live video feed of the Subaru before it was stolen. While watching the vehicle, Gideon hears noises outside of the house and goes to investigate. He is startled by a screaming Sylvia, who has been staying at the house with him. He manages to calm her down and finds that she was digging in the ground outside, searching for a memory. Gideon decides to help her dig and finds the shotgun that Sylvia had used to attempt to take her own life when Lucy was just a child. Shortly after, Lucy arrives at the hideout house to meet Gideon and her mother. Gideon explains the discovery of the gun and presents it to Lucy, urging her to use it to find the bomber. While practicing with the shotgun, Lucy admits to Gideon that she is pregnant with Ravi's child. This complicates the situation and makes Lucy nervous about her dangerous task of finding the bomber. Meanwhile, Ravi and Sam discover a strange documentary about the family and life of Evelyn Wiseman, the name in Lucy's notes. With the ability to see into the past and the future, Evelyn Wiseman received widespread attention for her mysterious abilities and her prediction that her entire family would die in a car crash on the 5th of September, 1977. This would have been her fate if not for Gideon's intervention. After Isaac begins to have visions of a vicious dog watching him at school, his teacher becomes worried and asks him questions about his fears and his relationship with his mother. Shortly after, Lucy and Isaac take a walk in the park. However, their walk is cut short when they see the pond full of dead ducks. The sight makes Isaac feel sick, and while leaving, Lucy spots the Watsons sitting on a bench together. Seeing them, she becomes frantic, knowing that they will die soon in the explosion from her other timeline. Later that night, the Subaru is stolen, and observing this, Gideon calls Lucy and tells her she must alert the owner of the vehicle, who is currently in the hospital after a recent accident. The following day, Lucy nervously impersonates D.I. Chambers, herself from the other timeline, and visits the owner of the Subaru, Jack Graham, in the hospital. After breaking the news and suggesting that the keys might have been stolen, Jack has a sudden realization and is confident he knows who stole the keys. The man's name is Steve Dunn, but he warns Lucy to be careful. Steve is a psycho. On the same day, Ravi and Sam visit the father of Evelyn Wiseman, and he recounts the story of her disappearance and shows them a painting of a faraway farmhouse that illuminates new information on her whereabouts. After Lucy's visit to the hospital, she picks up Isaac from his session with Dr. Bennett, Isaac's psychiatrist, and rushes him home to pack before dropping him off with the Warrens. This gives Lucy the chance to break into Steve Dunn's house that night and look for information about his planned bombing. Breaking into Dunn's eerie, rundown portion of a warehouse home, Lucy manages to find and break into his computer. In another part of town, Isaac is walking with the Warrens through town after purchasing some food. He hears a dog growling and vanishes before the Warrens' eyes. He appears shortly after around the corner with a large bite wound on his leg. Meanwhile, on Dunn's computer, Lucy has just discovered a conversation between Dunn and a buyer for the blue Subaru. She realizes that Steve Dunn is not the bomber, only a gang member who steals cars and sells them for cash. At that moment, Lucy is alarmed to hear Dunn returning to his home in the loud Subaru. He discovers her before she can escape, and a vicious fight ensues that ends with Lucy scrambling for the shotgun and shooting Dunn in the chest. Episode 4. Far Away. Turns out the missing Evelyn Wiseman is actually living in a farmhouse far away. She is religiously recording the events of each day, trying to make sense of the different timelines that she can experience. Meanwhile, Lucy is walking away from the murder that she just committed on Steve Dunn. Debbie Warren notifies her of the dog attack on Isaac, and she rushes to the Warrens' house, where Debbie is hysterical because she knows that the dog attack and Isaac's sudden disappearance do not make sense. At the same time, Ravi and Sam are investigating the murder of Dunn. Sam uses the opportunity to show Ravi her finding of Evelyn's probable location at the farmhouse. Ravi then decides to call Lucy and ask how she knows Evelyn Wiseman. Overhearing the phone call about Evelyn Wiseman, Gideon immediately drives to Evelyn's farmhouse and takes the shotgun. He is worried that if the police get to Evelyn first, she'll reveal details about the upcoming bombing and the police will stop it, meaning that the murderer will live to strike at another location. Meanwhile, Ravi decides to visit the farmhouse himself, but before leaving, Lucy meets him at his house and tells him that she is pregnant with his child. She also shares information with Ravi about his life, information that nobody else would know, in an attempt to convince him of the different timelines. He seems partially convinced, but takes Lucy to the farmhouse to prove whether she is telling him the truth. While Lucy and Ravi are leaving for the farmhouse, Gideon has already arrived. He meets Evelyn and tells her that they have to leave before the police arrive, and Evelyn is frantic, but eventually agrees to leave with him. Nevertheless, both parties meet on a single-lane country road, and Ravi orders Gideon to drop the gun and get out of the car. A standoff occurs that results in Ravi trying to tase Gideon, but Lucy jumps in the way and gets tased herself, with Gideon using the opportunity to escape with Evelyn. While recovering from the taser shot, Lucy reveals to Ravi their efforts to prevent the upcoming bombing and her ability to remember different timelines. Their conversation is cut short as Lucy has a miscarriage, likely due to getting tased. When they arrive at the hospital, Ravi begins to believe Lucy's foretelling of the bombing, but when Lucy asks Ravi to find some food in the hospital and he goes searching, she escapes. Concurrently, Sam Boyd is conducting her own investigation into Lucy's strange behavior. She arrives at the hospital to see Jack Graham, the owner of the blue Subaru. And after being notified that she is not the first detective to see Jack, Sam watches camera footage of Lucy impersonating as a police officer. Before leaving the hospital, Sam sees Lucy leaving the building after the miscarriage and follows her. Lucy arrives at her mother's house, which is now being used as a hideout for Gideon, Evelyn, Sylvia, and Isaac. In the time Sylvia has spent with Isaac, she appears to have awoken from her unresponsive state and finally recognizes Lucy as she walks in. The happy event is disrupted as Sam also enters the house. She is clearly confused with the gathering and tries to maintain control by ordering all in the house to remain still and put their hands up. Lucy tries to get Sam to remember other timelines by listing different facts about Sam's life that she couldn't possibly know in this timeline. However, Sam gets defensive and tries to physically subdue her. While Sam is distracted, Gideon uses the opportunity to grab a poisoned rag and smother Sam's face, rendering her unconscious. Episode 5. Birth of a Tragedy. During a flashback from Lucy's DI timeline, before she dies of cancer, She agrees to help Gideon with his mission on one condition: he stays away from her and never speaks to her again. Shortly after their meeting, Gideon receives another unexpected visitor, and confused, he does not recognize the man until he sees the broken blue watch on his wrist, revealing him to be a grown-up Isaac, who asks Gideon why he killed his mother. Back in Lucy's social worker timeline, the bomber with the yellow hoodie is busy constructing the bomb. Concurrently, Lucy is also busy making a sandwich for Sam, who is handcuffed alone in a room at the hideout house. Gideon and Lucy prepare to leave Isaac, Sylvia, and Evelyn in the house with Sam restrained upstairs, but just before they leave, Isaac tells his mother that bad things are about to happen.
Bad things are going to happen.
No. No, they're not, because I'm going to fix it.
Lucy and Gideon go to the toy store to try and locate the bomber, and they only need to see his face to be able to stop him in another timeline. Gideon stays outside to watch the entrance, while Lucy searches inside. Meanwhile, Ravi is beginning to have constant memories of the timeline where he is married to Lucy. While visiting the location where he proposed to her, he envisions a memory of the bombing at the toy store, and he remembers that the bomb was going off at 11 a.m., and races off to the store with only a few minutes to spare.
Hello, Lucy. Boy.
Turn on the news.
Police have not confirmed whether the attack was terror-related. They're setting up diversion routes.
Back at the hideout house, Evelyn is having a mental breakdown, and Sam uses this to her advantage. She convinces Evelyn to free her and races off in search of Lucy. Suspense begins to mount back at the toy store as Lucy finds an abandoned bag. She opens it, only to find it belongs to a woman nearby, and the woman causes a scene and draws unwanted attention, forcing Lucy to flee the store. She notifies an angry Gideon that she had to leave the store, just as he spots the bomber in the yellow hoodie entering it. Unable to see the bomber's face, Gideon becomes frustrated and enters the toy store himself. At the same time, Ravi arrives at the store and begins evacuating the customers. After rushing the last customers out of the building, he spots a remaining man in a yellow hoodie. Sensing something suspicious, Ravi orders the man to turn around and tries to restrain him. However, the bomber surprises Ravi, stabs him multiple times, and runs away. And when Gideon arrives, he sees a dying Ravi, who points him in the direction that the bomber escaped in. Moments later, Ravi dies from his wounds, lying right beside the bomb. Following Ravi's tip, Gideon continues chasing the bomber through a nearby car park. He spots a suspicious vehicle, but while approaching it, is knocked unconscious by the bomber who had snuck up behind him. Shortly after, the bomb goes off. After failing to find the bomber in the toy store, Lucy drives to meet Isaac and Sylvia. They pack up their bags and prepare to run far away, but before they can leave, however, Sam arrives with a police team to arrest Lucy at her house. Isaac gives his mom what appears to be one last hug goodbye, and then uses his unique ability to transport them across timelines and back, just outside the police perimeter. The police are baffled at Lucy and Isaac's disappearance, but Sylvia explains how special Isaac really is. Lucy and Isaac flee to a meeting point with Gideon, with Lucy also having called Dr. Bennett to meet them and help them escape. Gideon soon also arrives after regaining consciousness and urges Lucy to go with him to stop the bomber. Feeling the need to save numerous lives, Lucy decides to leave Isaac behind with Dr. Bennett, but insists that she will return for him. With sirens surrounding them, Gideon and Lucy try to escape the police. They find an abandoned farmhouse, but the police are also closing in. Lucy becomes incredulous when Gideon points a gun at her and insists that they kill each other to reset the timeline so that they can find the bomber in the next timeline. Tensions elevate as the police arrive and scream at Gideon to drop the weapon, while Gideon is frantically explaining to Lucy why they must reset and hopes to convince her. Thinking of Isaac, Lucy begs Gideon not to shoot because her son is in this timeline and he needs her. However, before she can finish her sentence, Gideon fires, killing Lucy. Days later, Isaac is standing alone in the field outside of Sylvia's house. Debbie Warren and Dr. Bennett are watching him, discussing Debbie's plans to care for Isaac. But at that moment, Isaac hears his mother's voice behind him, and when he turns around is surprised, but ecstatic to see her once again. And that wraps up The Devil's Hour Season 2. So what did everyone think of this season? Did you like it or not so much? Be sure to comment below and let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching our recap and for sticking around until the end. If you like this video, consider sharing it with a friend or dropping us a like. And if you want more content like this, subscribe to our channel and don't forget to ring the notification bell. We'll be back soon with another recap, but until then, BingeBot is logging off.